I would have liked to have mixed it up somewhere in the middle, but it's great to get the World Cup off to a good start because we've got four nations that probably aren't that competitive in the tournament. So we want to get it off to a great start, a great spectacle. So I can't see a bigger match other than Australia and England and India and Pakistan. The India and Pakistan match is probably a big money earner for the ICC. It's something that the world wants to see, and over in your part of the world, the subcontinent, I don't think anyone will be working on that particular day. Oh, look, we had a wonderful team, but it was a great culture that we had within our group over those 2 years, or the 3 years that we won it in a row. We had exceptional culture, not just in the Australian team, but around Australian cricket in the first class arena. We were all striving for the same bit of success, and to have that from deep down in your cricket in your country is something that I don't think any other nation would be able to grasp, and I don't think we're going to be able to grasp that again. It would be very lucky if we were able to do that. So we had great depth, but we all knew our role. We lost Shane Warne in that first year in 2003 that I played, and everyone thought, oh yeah, there's going to be a lot of pressure without Shane Warne, but it was quite simple. The process there was the coaches sat down with me, the skipper sat down with me, and just said, this is all we want from you, this is all we need from you. And I knew exactly what was required of me in that particular instance. And same with the other players that were around, like the Andy Bickles, the Ian Harveys, those guys weren't the big names. We were surrounded by legends of the game, but we just knew that we had to play a small part in such a big tournament. So I'll look at the Indian team. They haven't had a good run here of late in Australia. I don't think they've won a game over here at the present moment, and for them to turn it around, they've got to get away from the game of cricket for a couple of days after they finish with that Australian tour, and just rejuvenate, re-energise, and just try and do exercises outside the game of cricket, which was going to bring the team closer. So I think India can turn it around. So, it's just about team culture and getting momentum from the start. I think Vittoria is going to play a big role for New Zealand. I think he's going to be the pick of the spinners. The reason why is he's grown up in these conditions over here. There's not much turn in Australian wickets these days. If we look at the Test series, I think spinners averaged 40 across Test cricket in Australia over the last 6 years. And Nathan Lyon was averaging about 35, 32. So it just shows how hard it is to bowl spin, especially in Australian conditions. I think you get a little bit more assistance down in New Zealand. So I think spinner's going to play a bigger part down in New Zealand than Australia. But the key is just to bowl stump to stump, good line and length, and try and get the batsman to play across the line, and try and get those LBs and bowls, but also bowl with a little bit more top spin to try and get the drop and extra bounce. So when the players do go for the sweep shot, you're looking to get those top edges as well. So I think the key is batsmen will want to come and try and hit the short boundary straight, especially at the SCG boundary straight as well, and the whacker. But the key is to not let the batsman get out of his crease and come down and get the ball on the half volley and hit to those straight boundaries. The key is to get them to play across the line. So that's where you get your wickets straight, stump to stump. It makes a huge difference because you sort of when I was bowling, I always had 2 out on the offside and 3 out on the leg side deep. And nowadays you've got to take one. And if I'm bowling to a right-hander, to hit with the spin when I'm bowling the conventional leg spinner, they can go over mid-wicket. So I want to close that up, so I can't take my mid-wicket, my deep mid-wicket away. So the bloke that I'm going to have to bring up is either my deep mid off or my deep point. And batsmen, if it's not turning much, can easily back away and hit over into those vacant areas with the fielders up. So it does ruin your plans a little bit, but that's where you've got to come up and say, right, well, I've got to have the guts to say, right, if you're going to hit me to mid-wicket, you're going to have to play across the line. Like I said, I'm going to have to bowl with a lot more topspin to try and create a little miss-hit into that region. So I've got to have the guts to be able to do that, or bring my mid-off up, hoping that I get a little bit more turn into the bat so that it's difficult for that right-hander to hit me over mid-off. With the left-hander, well, I'm spinning the ball away most of the time, so I'll have to bring the mid-wicket up and probably have a deep point just for that long hop that's wide of off-stump just to have him have that easy one. And I'll have to have my deep mid-off up because he's going to be hitting with the spin over mid-off. And I'll probably even think about having mid-on up. So I think the fielding restrictions for out for the game, I think it's good for one-day cricket because it allows the batsman to play more inventive strokes, and we're not just seeing the batsman just push the ones and twos. So we're having a little bit more excitement, but we've got to be careful that we don't have too many games where we're having big scores. We want to see those low scored games which are tight, where teams that are chasing at 150 all of a sudden are struggling around about the 120 mark when they're 6 down. Are they going to get there or aren't they? So just because it's a high scoring game doesn't mean it's entertaining. Some low scoring games have been the best games that I've ever watched or played in. The favourites for me are New Zealand and Australia, obviously, and I'm not being parochial there. I think Australia have played fantastic cricket, and Australia have got the best balanced team in the competition. They've got 3 all-rounders in Watson, Marsh and Faulkner. If they lose Clark through injury, they can cover Clark, but having 3 quality all-rounders as well as Maxwell, you bat deep and you're able to attack the opposition bowlers consistently throughout an inning. So I think Australia are probably the favourites. New Zealand are playing pretty good cricket as well, and I think there's going to be a big upset. I think England aren't going to make the quarterfinals because if you look at their group, they play Australia, New Zealand in their first 2 matches. If they lose those, they're under the pump, and then they play Sri Lanka, I think, in their 4th game. And they lose that, then they come up against Bangladesh in their 5th game. Now, you don't want to be coming up against a minnow team like Bangladesh in your 5th game under pressure. So I think Bangladesh, if they play their cards right, they might be able to sneak into the quarterfinals. On the Group B side, I think South Africa are playing fantastic cricket, but their reliance on Amla and De Villiers is probably a little bit too much, and they don't have that quality all-rounder to deepen their batting lineup. So if they lose early wickets, they could be in a lot of trouble. And I think India can turn things around as well. I don't see Pakistan having the quality of players to win this World Cup, but I think India, if they play at the MCG in their final matches, I think that's a good hunting ground for them. I think India are still a chance to win back-to-back. So at the end of the day, I think it's Australia and New Zealand's tournament to win. It's India and South Africa to take it off the host nations.